Welcome to Real Estate and Taxes with Lakshay. I will be helping you minimize your taxes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining in on my Tuesday session on real estate and taxes. Today, we're going to be talking about which one should you invest in, fast food or fine dine restaurant. So today, the agenda will be, we're going to first compare two fast food restaurants, look at their profitability, income statement. Then we're going to go into two fine dine restaurants, look at their profitability, the ratios that they work off. Then we're going to make some observations and followed by conclusion. Now we're going to be looking at two live examples of a fine dine restaurant. In the first restaurant, you can notice that the fine dine restaurant is doing roughly 2.5 million and above in sales. In fact, in both of my examples, the sales numbers are over 2.5 million. The total cost of goods sold is actually working around to 30%, in some cases going up to 40%. And then if you look at some of the insurance costs, supplies, repairs and maintenance, Uber Eats, platform fees, utilities, all of these are roughly ranging around 0.5%, 1 to 2.5%, and so on and so forth. But what are some of the big ticket items? The biggest ticket item in this scenario is the payroll expenses. That takes away roughly 35 to 40%. Your total cost of goods sold is taking away 30 to 40%, and your platform fees is taking roughly 7 to 10% of the total sales. And if you look at some of the general admin expenses, it's taking another 6 to 10%. So what are our overall conclusions in terms of how much money are they making? Well, if you can see, anything that you make 2.5 million and above, all of that money goes towards running the operation. All of this takes away most of the money up until 2.5 million. So that means in order to operate any restaurant in a profitable level, which is a fine dine restaurant in Canada, you would need roughly to do 2.5 million and above. Your economies of scale will start after any money that you make 2.5 to $3 million. So in this scenario, one of the restaurant was making money, the other one was losing money. But if you really ask me, the main money is hidden in the payroll expenses. The payroll expenses were roughly, in one scenario, working out to $1 million, and another scenario, it's working out to another $655,000. So if you ask me, where is the money hidden? Maybe the management was paying themselves out of it as part of the payroll expenses, and that's why the net profitability is so low. So all in all, based on both the examples, I would ask you to consider the payroll expenses. Second, I would want you to consider the cost of goods sold and the royalties. All of these three areas is where you can basically make or break. Now let's look at two examples of a fast food restaurant, the smaller restaurants where it's mostly takeout. So in this scenario, you notice that right off the bat, as opposed to a fine dine restaurant, the total sales number is fairly small. It's sitting around 500 to 600 range. If you're looking at buying at any fast food restaurant, your first criteria should be making sure that they're doing anything above 600 mark in sales. Anything below $600,000 would technically bring you in a negative. The first $500,000 will be going towards rental, payroll expenses, repairs and maintenance, the platform fees that you pay to Uber Eats, Skip the Dishes, any type of payroll expenses, insurance, supplies. So that's where most of the money goes. If you ask me, that the biggest ticket items, it's basically the cost of goods sold, the payroll expenses, and of course the rental. Some of the things are beyond your control, right? But cost of goods sold is definitely something that you can control by going to, preferred stores, cash and carries. Payroll is, again, something that is controllable if you want to involve your family members to work with you to reroute some of the money towards your family rather than going outside with the external employees. And if you look at the rental is something that is fixed cost. But if you are looking at a location where the rental is very high on a month-to-month basis, I would highly recommend, strongly consider that because that will stay with you forever. So all in all, my conclusion is, if you're buying a fast food, make sure that it's over $500,000 in sales. If you're buying a fine dine restaurant, make sure the sales number is over 2.5 million to enjoy the economies of scale. Pay special attention to the monthly rental cost and the purchase price. So the monthly rental cost needs to be limited because as you go to more remote areas, the rent is far lower. So maybe getting out of GTA might be helpful. If you're looking at the purchase price, it's usually half the sale price, but we have a great team to do due diligence on in terms of making sure that the sales that are reported, the POS terminal matches with the HST reports as well, which matches with the corporate taxes that was filed. So make sure to, do your due diligence in terms of with an accountant before pulling the trigger of, buying a restaurant. With that, I'll wrap up today's presentation. Thank you very much for joining.